Kia ora, and welcome to Walking the Shadowlands podcast. Let me be your guide as we take a walk into the shadowy realms of the unexplained, of the paranormal, of things that go bump in the night and haunt your dreams.
Your hosts?
I'm Marianne. Thanks so much for joining us today, tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you're living in this beautiful world of ours. Sit back, relax, and let me be your guide as we walk into the Shadowlands together and see what awaits us there. Hi everyone, welcome back to this episode of our Walking the Shadowlands podcast. Spring's here in New Zealand and we're seeing new life everywhere, a timely reminder that things pass and move on, and new life, new beginnings will always return after things seem the bleakest. So for those of you in the world who are still struggling to deal with our current pandemic, hang in there. Things will get better. New beginnings are around the corner. For those of you like myself who enjoy going for walks in the bush, as we say here in New Zealand, or hiking in the wilderness, this is the time when our thoughts once again turn to heading out to those desolate areas we may love so much. But are we alone when we are hiking, far away from so-called civilization, or is that feeling of being watched, of feeling not alone, a valid feeling? Or is it merely our imagination? Throughout the world, there are stories and legends of huge, hairy, ape-like creatures that have persisted over the centuries through retellings of cultural myths and legends and of actual reported sightings of such creatures by those such as perhaps yourself out there in those wilderness areas. These beings go by many different names. In North America, they are called Sasquatch, or the more common name of Bigfoot. Across the ditch in Aussie, they are called the Yowie. In parts of Asia and the Himalayas, they are called the Yeti or the Meerter. In Mongolia, they are called the Almas. In Sumatra, the Orang Pendek. In China, the Yuren. In the jungles of South America, they are called the Mapingolri. On the podcast website, www.walkingtheshadowlands.com, you can see a link to a page that has a huge list of names for this creature. So you can see that this being goes by many, many names throughout the world. So far in past seasons, we've looked at New Zealand's Moiho man and spoken with people who research these beings here and in Australia. We looked at Australia's Yowie. In this episode, we are going to talk with a gentleman who had an experience with the Bigfoot in the USA. This experience created an ongoing interest and desire to know more and to seek out this elusive creature. So the question is, are you willing to walk with me into this part of the Shadowlands and see what awaits us there? Then let's begin. Mike, a 31-year-old EMT firefighter, graphic designer by day, is a Bigfoot researcher, producer and lead investigator from Northwest New Jersey. He first got into Bigfooting in 2011 on an expedition in North Florida, where he and a friend experienced rocks being thrown at them while sitting around a campfire. Since then, he's made it his personal goal to find out exactly what is roaming the woods of America. In 2016, after becoming frustrated with the lack of true research expedition shows on TV, he created his own show called In the Shadow of the Big Red Eye. The show is currently filming their 5th season. In 2018, Mike also created a docuseries called Squatchables, which was created for people who are just getting into Bigfooting, sort of a Bigfoot 101. With a passion for Bigfooting and a history in video editing, he decided to make the first real show about what expeditions are truly about. You'll see raw, uncut footage of what Bigfooting actually is. If there's one thing he hopes people gain from this show, is for families and friends to get off the couch and outside into nature to explore what this amazing world has to offer, says Mike. I'd like to welcome my guest, Mike Vermillion. In my research for the shows that I did on New Zealand's Moiho Man, I did like about 30 hours research on it. I didn't even realise we had one in New Zealand until until I started doing research. So it was quite interesting, but I discovered in my research that the similarities worldwide they're all the same. They're the same sort of things that people see, the same basic descriptions.
Sure.
So it's quite interesting. For people who don't know about Bigfoot, can you explain what Bigfoot, or the big red eye as he's known where you're from, is?
Sure, yeah. So Bigfoot is a bipedal, hairy hominid that's of unknown origin. So averages like 7 to 8 feet tall, depending on like where in the country you're living. It's covered in like hair, not fur, but hair. Goes anywhere from like a white, gray, tan, red, maroon, all the way down to like a deep dark black. And there's a lot of credible witnesses and sighting reports from people like of all natures, from homeless people to doctors reporting, seeing whatever they saw.
When I came across you and I looked up your YouTube videos, I was quite fascinated because it's a subject that I find quite interesting. So tell us how you got interested in this area of research, which is Bigfoot, Yeti, the Moiho Man, many names throughout the world for this creature.
So this happened when I was living down in Florida, and I was always like an inside kid, like growing up, like never like really outdoorsy or anything like that. So I was living with my ex-fiance, working at like this beach resort, which is like the best job I've ever had. And I was finding Bigfoot was on TV. So I was bored and I went on their website and found they offered expeditions to the public that they could go out with, these researchers and try to look for Bigfoot. And I was like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever. So, I bought the tickets and stuff like that. And then me and my ex, we broke up and, I moved to Tampa. But anyways, I still had these tickets. So, and non-refundable, cost a lot of money. So I ended up bringing one of my friends who I made friends with from the ambulance I was working on. And then we went up camping North Florida, and nothing happened the entire trip. There was like 60 something people camping there. Yeah, so we camped away from everybody because like me and it was my buddy Jimmy that came with me. Excuse me. We kind of like didn't want to like, we're like, oh man, they're gonna be really weird, so we want to camp like kind of away from them. But nothing happened the entire trip, and until the last night. It was me and Jimmy were up watching a meteor shower, which is really cool. We were up like super late. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning or something like that. and we got rocks thrown at us from. Well, we at first we heard like a tree knock, and I was like, oh, these people, we paid a lot of money to come on this, so these people must be, whoever just making us like,
Right.
that's how they make people come back because
Right.
they give them some action or something. And then over the course of probably the next 20 minutes or so, we had kind of like maybe like a little bigger than a golf ball sized rocks land within like 5 feet from us, 5 to 10 feet, all within that like little diameter. And I was kind of still thinking it was like these people, right? So now my buddy's like, I'm gonna throw a rock back at it, and I'm like, oh, I don't think that's a good idea. Like, like here I am
Right.
still thinking like it's these people. So I'm like, either you're gonna hit somebody in the head, Jimmy, or you're gonna piss off a Bigfoot, and I don't think either of them is
Yeah.
probably a good way of going about it. So yeah, he threw the rock back at it, and it was at that second I knew it wasn't a Bigfoot because like you could hear just like all the other rocks crashing kind of like through the trees. You hear them come down, and this landed with a big thud, and it was probably a little bigger than like softball size, so like almost triple the size that these rocks have been coming. And that's when like I knew it wasn't a person because nobody could throw a rock that far, you know.
Oh, okay. Because you had me a bit confused
Oh
there
no, I'm
because
sorry.
before
Yeah,
you it wasn't a big, yeah, yeah. That's so
no,
good.
yeah. And then the next morning we took measurements and trying to be like do the scientific stuff, and we figured the closest that because like you could hear the rocks and like how they landed and coming through the trees and stuff like that. The closest place that could have came from, like through the angles and stuff like that, was like 150-ish
Wow.
yards away. So, I mean, I don't know anybody that could throw anything that far, let alone, you know, be that accurate. There's no, I don't know. It's impossible outside of human range.
That's quite a distance.
And then yeah, so that got me like really into it. I was like, I kind of made it my like personal goal. I'm like, I got to figure out what threw those rocks at us. So then I started researching, and me and my friends we started going out and stuff like that, and having our own little expeditions, and you know that one night turned it into here I am talking with you, doing a podcast.
How did you feel when you actually went on this group? It seems to me like it was more of a money-making thing for, taking 60 people to search for a Bigfoot. Um, I kind of don't like stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's put on by the BFRO, and everybody over there is really like they would, I want to say they would never hoax or anything. If that kind of last part, it didn't
Yeah.
seem that way. They would never hoax. Um, but yeah, some people, it depends on the expedition, or I can't speak today. The expedition organizer. Um, to see like how many people, if he wants to put a cap on however many people. But yeah, I mean that wouldn't be the way that I would try to find Bigfoot.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, a group of
But
60 people, that's an enormous, 2 to 3 people I could understand. But really, what self-respecting Bigfoot is going to come out for 60 people, and yet you guys had that experience. So,
yeah, I mean I don't know, it was weird. It was, I don't know, no idea.
and when was that? What year was that?
That was
So in
2011.
2011, so since then, so in the past 9 years, you've dedicated your time to
Yeah,
researching.
I got super into it. I got really into like the patterns when it comes to like sighting reports and stuff like that. Um, and then I got into getting all the gear and going out, and because now like after doing it a few times, I actually like camping now. It's that was my first time camping back in 2011. So like it, I think that on top of everything else that happened was like kind of icing on the cake. But
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, to discover something that you never knew you liked before, that's always a good thing. So, since that experience, and you started going out and actively looking,
yeah, yep. So moved back up to North Jersey, and I started networking with people up here and joining like kind of like local-ish Bigfoot groups um, up here. And then I started to create a network of friends, and then we would go out and Bigfoot. And then in 2015, I was like, I was all the research and stuff. I'm like hardcore into this now.
right?
So I'm watching everything on TV, all the YouTube channels, everything I could like get my hands on when it comes to Bigfoot and anything, cryptozoology. Oh my
I got you.
God.
It's a big word. Yeah.
Yeah, the crypto thing. Um,
Cryptozoological.
oh man. And so yeah, I started just researching it, and we would start going out, and then I kind of created like this network of people that I would we would just go out and do expeditions. And then in 2015, like I was saying, I was so deep into this. I kind of was like, well, I want to document our
Right,
expeditions. And I think it'd be really cool because we bring all this camera stuff out with us anyway. So why don't I kind of was like upset with all the shows that were going on because like they were all for ratings and stuff. They're not real true
right,
expeditions. So I was like, well, you know what? I might as well. I don't know. I was bored and turned one of our private expeditions into a little short show, and everybody liked it. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna make a series, and that turned into In the Shadow of Big Red Eye.
right. And why did you? And this series is available on YouTube, In the
Yes.
Shadow of the Big Red Eye, and that's your YouTube channel. And how many videos do you have on there now?
The channel is actually Sussex County Bigfoot NJ, but that's the name of our show. You can get to, yeah, I mean, you'll find it either way. How many? So yeah, we're filming our fifth season now. So we have all four seasons are up on our YouTube channel, so you could see. I couldn't tell you how many episodes there are. Probably ooh, 30 or
Well, I mean, if you're
so.
into 5 seasons, it's a fair amount.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then we decided to do like a short docu series, like kind of like a Bigfoot 101. If you were just trying to get into Bigfooting, like what would you need to do, or what should you do, what should you know, type of thing. And that's called Squatchables, which is available on our YouTube channel as well. And then you could see like our previous podcasts that we've done. Presentations, stuff like that. So everything's available over on our YouTube channel, Sussex County Bigfoot NJ.
Right. So, obviously, you have a fair following now to have gone into 5 seasons.
I know, and it's I think we just passed 1,200 something subscribers or something like that, and it's really cool because I never in a million years thought like this was just going to be like so we can sit down after an expedition and all laugh
Right.
like this, you know what I
Yeah.
mean. Now it turned into 5 seasons of traveling up and down the East Coast. I mean, it's amazing. I couldn't I never would imagine that it would grow the way it has, and I love all of our fans.
So what you do is you go into places where there've been reported sightings. Is that correct?
um for the most part, yeah. I kind of don't plan my trips and the locations on previous
Right.
sightings because it's I think like you need two things to have a Bigfoot sighting. You need, a person and a Bigfoot. So I think like the deeper you go away from
Right.
people, the further and whatever, where there's, say, the population's like 2 per square mile, you're not going to have as many sightings there
Mm.
because the population, there's nobody to see a Bigfoot.
Right.
So it's an interesting, sightings in Montana. There's not a whole lot of them, but you think that state would be, I mean, up there on the sightings list, but it's just Montana's very desolate.
Right.
So, and same with Alaska.
Right. And one thing I've noticed in the episodes that I have done on the Bigfoot, the Yowie, the Mohiam, or Big Red Eye, as you call him,
Yeah.
is that very often it is in isolated areas. It's in forested areas generally, where there's a lot of bush.
Hmm.
Very rarely Bigfoot seen in areas that are open.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very similar. It's they're not going to be, you know, they're
Yeah,
smart.
yeah. So,
So
how many people do you have on your team that go on these expeditions with you?
um, about, we'll say,
Oh,
30,
that's
35.
a fair amount.
Yeah, and they're all over the country, so it's not like they come out to every expedition. Normally we have 4 to 6 people per
Okay,
expedition, so
that's more
it's,
what I was
yeah.
thinking. Right,
Um, but yeah, generally speaking, active members, there's a good 5, 6 people that usually come out to them.
right.
So it's
And how often do you go on these expeditions? How often do you go?
well, yeah. This year kind of was interesting because obviously COVID and um, generally speaking, from the summer months, from like April to say October, we'll try to go out once a month for like a 3-night long expedition.
Right. Oh, that's a good trip. So,
Yeah.
in all these places you've visited, have you ever caught a glimpse of Bigfoot, or have you seen evidence of their nests or where they live or that they're around?
Sure. Yeah. So I consider myself that I've never seen a Bigfoot. Um, there was one time in South Jersey in the Pine Barrens that, I don't know, I saw something and I don't know what it was, and we've got pictures of it, but it's so blurry that I would never even think of like releasing them to anybody.
Right.
So I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But yeah, we've found footprints in certain locations. What's interesting in New Jersey, actually, there's you could see like there's a family group. So there's like a mother, a father, and I think like two younger ones, and we go down to the same location each year, down in the Pine Barrens, and each year you could see the footprints growing. Like the male and the female stay the same, but the kids, you could see them like growing. Like it's really interesting
Really?
year after. Yeah. So for someone to hoax that is, I mean, you're very dedicated.
That's actually interesting. I've never heard of family groups of a Bigfoot being footprints being found before. So that has to be quite interesting. And to go back and see the difference each year, either if it's somebody that is hoaxing, then they've got a lot of patience and they have to know when you're going out there every
Well, and
year.
exactly, and that's the thing. I don't tell anybody where I'm going. Like only, like only my group of people know. So it's not, and it's insane, really. So they would have to get up
Well,
early to run 2 miles into the woods with no trail to stamp footprints. Like, no, it's not.
Yeah. It beggars belief, doesn't it?
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we've also recorded vocalizations that I've sent off to like an army linguist and or military linguist. He's like my go-to guy for vocalizations. He's does that for a living. He's an expert, so he's pretty good at it. Um, and he's reviewed the audio and it's come back like this is not a person because of this and this, and this is no known animal because of this and this. Like he'll actually like list it out and stuff like that, which is really cool because with pitch changes or decibel changes and stuff like he has this like system, and
Right.
a couple of them have come back like this is nothing that we know exists.
Wow.
So I think that's where a lot of the evidence comes from is like through audio recording.
Quite interesting.
Yeah, not a human, and no animal can make no known animal can make the vowel change. Like if you hear in the audio, it goes from a ooh to an ah, like an O to an A, and
Right.
animals can't do that. So
That's very interesting.
it's kind of cool. Only primates can, and we're not supposed to have any primates up here in North America.
True. Wow. So how did you actually find this chap who does the audio for you?
Oh, it's just through networking. It's there's a lot of people in the Bigfoot community, and there's a lot of really cool people. I know, like I've met some of my best friends now have come through online networking, and it's crazy. It's the people that you meet. I've met a lot of cool people through this, and yeah, it's just neat.
In your Bigfoot research, have you come to any conclusions as to what you feel Bigfoot might be?
Oh, that's a good question. So, yes, there's kind of different philosophies when it comes to Bigfooting. Some people are of the thought pattern that Bigfoot is related to aliens. There's people that believe Bigfoot is interdimensional, so that they can like shapeshift and whatever. And there's people like me that say that they're like an actual flesh and blood type animal. The reason why I believe that is because in my expeditions and the time that I spent in the woods, that's what would lead me to believe it would be the most. Meaning, I've not found evidence of any of the other thought processes. So, if I always challenge somebody, if you can show me some evidence that it can, shapeshift, bring it on. But no one's brought it up to the plate yet. So.
I haven't heard of the shape shifting. I have heard of the interdimensional, but interdimensional doesn't mean they shape shift. It just means they move from one reality to another. But shape shifting, I haven't actually heard that one. That's a new one to me.
Yeah, down in I think that happens a lot in like Arizona and Nevada.
But then would that not come under not Bigfoot, but that might come under what's the word? I did an episode on them too. The Navajo calls them skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers, yes. Yep.
That would more likely be a skinwalker than a Bigfoot.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
If they can shapeshift. Yeah, skinwalkers, and also the area is more desert rather than forested.
Right.
So that would be out of the Bigfoot's natural habitat
Sure.
that is generally found in. So for me, I would tend to feel that that would more be a skinwalker with a shapeshifting. Definitely not interdimensional, from my understanding,
Sure.
anyway.
Yeah, I've heard it all. You know, like,
Yeah, yes, I can imagine.
But and also another reason why I think they're more animal than anything else is because, like, you look at like their traits and their patterns and stuff. Like if I was interdimensional or intradimensional, whatever, you know, whatever, then why would I leave footprints for people to find? And why would I make these vocalizations? And why would there be like, why would I leave hair and stuff?
But then inter or intradimensional doesn't mean that they're not physical while they're in this dimension.
You lost me.
It just means they can travel from one dimension to another, and but then there's so many questions, aren't there? So many questions about this subject, and my mind's going all over the place. Like, for example, why are there never any bones found or remains found of these creatures?
Yeah, that's a very
if they're flesh and blood creatures.
Yeah, no, that's
This dimensional creatures.
You're right. That's a very good question. I answer that by saying, like, um, have it. I'm hiking and camping all the time. I have never come across the skull or remains of a black bear, but we live in an area where I live is the most densely populated black bear county in the Northeast. So I mean, and you know, same way with like with places where there's moose. I ask people, you know, people will come up and they'll challenge me on that. Well, why haven't we ever found a dead one? I'm like, well, you go, you know, find me a dead black bear, and then we'll talk.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I can see.
And you add intelligence on top of that, so it's like I think they go way out in the middle of nowhere.
And who knows that they don't have some sort of grieving funeral process like we do?
Yeah, that I don't believe that, because I think that by doing that you add religion, and then you add a belief system.
No, I'm not. I'm talking about, like, crows have kind of like a funeral service when somebody dies. They all go around in a circle around that crow that died.
Right.
Elephants mourn their dead.
Right.
So there's no reason why a Bigfoot, if he's a biological creature, doesn't have some sort of thing that they do. Maybe they bury their dead, or cover them, or put them in a tree, or something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's very well possible. I don't even if they didn't, even if you didn't bury your dead, though, I think it would still be, you know, you have an intelligent creature that knows they're going to die. Where these Bigfoot are seen are in places where there's a lot of scavengers that come along. There's, you know, the ravens and everything eats something dead in the woods. So there goes your meat real quick, and then the bones are easily explainable, because like where you find Bigfoot sightings are also places that are, you know, the same exact areas that bear are, which are cool. And Florida is a perfect example of that. But where there's bear, there's also porcupine. So the porcupine eat the bones for the bone marrow.
Oh, seriously?
You can go from also, you know, too, Bigfoot live in these soil acidic rich soil, so that speeds up the decompensation process and everything.
Right.
So you can go from like dying dead day one to being completely nothing, like you were never even there, in like 20 days, I think.
20 days, that's pretty fast.
Yeah.
Wow. That would be interesting. to get some scientific studies on it, like to see how long it actually does take for any sort of animal corpse to break down.
Well, I think that, unfortunately that would vary too much for each, depending on if it's raining, if it's humid.
Of course. So in your research and your studies, what stories have you heard that have really caught your attention about Bigfoot encounters?
Oh, that's a good one. I think my favorite story, and this kind of it hits close to home because one, what we're dealing with right now in the United States, which is all the wildfires going on, and oh my God, the people that we've lost it's insane. I'm over on the East Coast in New Jersey, and it's all hazy from all the smoke out in California,
Wow.
and Oregon and Washington. But yeah, so one of the stories, and there's paperwork to back it up and stuff like that. But I think it was out in Colorado. Don't quote me on that. But there was a big wildfire going on, a big forest fire, and there's firefighters taking a rest, like in like a group or whatever, and they have the fire trucks right there and whatever, and then I guess it's like some kind of like, I don't know, rest post or something.
Right.
And a Bigfoot comes out of the woods, like singed, like you could see it, like smoldering, comes out of the fire area and like crawls up to these firefighters, and they take him, they put him in the ambulance. They the guy whose story this is, saw them start an IV, saw the blood drip down onto the floor of the ambulance. This is all written by him. I don't know. This, don't take it for, if anybody wants to research it. I can get you the information. But yeah, and then the ambulance or then the government came, some army trucks or whatever, which wasn't uncommon because it was like an Army Corps thing helping with the fire.
Right.
But then they like caravan this ambulance who knows where. So it's really super interesting. I like that story a lot.
Oh, that is interesting. And was that with these recent fires, or was
No, that
that
I forget the year it was. I'll look it up. Yeah, I'll look it up and send it to you.
Okay, that'll be really cool, and I can put the link on this episode's page on our website, www.walkingtheshadowlands.com. So anybody who's interested can follow that up. But that kind of goes into a whole pile of different areas that this podcast really doesn't cover, like government conspiracies.
Yeah,
and
I don't,
cover-ups and stuff like that.
I tell anybody, like, especially at presentations, it kind of gets a little bit political and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't talk conspiracy theories or anything like that. There's a whole group of people that do, and I'm not part of it.
Yeah, no, this podcast isn't about that either. This is more about the unexplained and the unknown and the mysterious. And so where do you think your team is going to go from here? What's your next expedition that you have planned?
Well, the next expedition that we have, I guess after this airs, is going to be next year. We don't have any set expeditions because for the winter it just gets, it's kind of like our
right.
relaxed time and
right.
Kind of time to get reset and stuff like that, and work a lot so he gets paid time off.
Yeah. I forgot that you're in the northern hemisphere, so of course summer now.
So you're going into spring then, right now?
No, we're in spring. Spring formally started on the 1st of September. So
okay,
yeah, well into spring. Yeah, although it's been pretty cold lately. So
what's cold for New Zealand?
Oh well, it depends. Well, It's not cold like you have, for sure. I never ever saw snow, actually, until I went to live in North Carolina.
Yeah, welcome.
So, yeah. I loved it. I loved it. It was so beautiful.
That makes one of us.
Because I never experienced it, and to be here in the snow, although it does snow in New Zealand, just not where I live.
Right.
It's kind of like the centre of the north, the east coast of the North Island. It's a fairly warm climate here where I live.
Right.
Comparable, gosh, I don't know, to perhaps Florida in winter when it's a bit
You got
cooler.
me sold.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
When am I coming? I'm packing my bags.
Oh, it's lovely here. So let me see. I'm just trying to think what else. Do you have any of your team members had any experiences in any of your expeditions?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's cool is we all contribute to, I think, like sometimes one team will have a lot of activity and the other team won't have any activity. That's if we
Right.
like split apart. But that's, I think, what's kind of cool about it. It's like it's all luck. Like people, I'm gonna go this way because I think the Bigfoot did this and this and this and traveled this way. So I'm gonna take my team this way, and it's very interesting. It's cool. But yeah, they've all got really. I mean, we don't get activity every time.
Right, of course not.
It's not so. That's another thing that the TV. The reason why I made the show is kind of wanted me to create the show is because there's if we don't have any if we don't have any activity, we're still going to make the episode, but it's not going to be a long one.
Right, right.
But that's it's not about finding Bigfoot. That's what people, a lot of criticism that I get from the show is like, oh, what happened when you guys were on your investigation, or you didn't go, too deep into this and whatever. And because it's not about like us actually Bigfooting. It's every episode has an underlying theme of like, let's get off the couch and into the woods and see something that we wouldn't see on a normal day. And that's what I hope people are able to do and kind of like take from the show is like, even if you're not into Bigfoot, that means nothing. Just getting outside and even just taking a leisurely hike through the town park or something like that. Something you wouldn't normally do. Get outside and experience it with friends and family.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's awesome. So for you personally, where do you see yourself going with this in the future? Are you just going to?
I don't know. This year has been really tough. It's hit us, very hard financially. And I was at the point, even though like we don't outsource anything like that, it's just, it's my time and my gas going to these locations, looking, and it's, it hurt us. So I want to say that we're going to be back at it as hard as ever next year, because we obviously, for season 5, I think we're going to have 2 or 3 episodes which stinks, but that just means we got to do it twice as good for season 6, right?
But you know what? Everybody is in that situation at this point in time, and
that's true.
I don't feel there's anybody in this world who wouldn't understand that.
Yeah, no,
we're all in this together.
Yeah, that's
even little New Zealand down here in the South Pacific. We're very lucky because we are an island in the middle of nowhere, 2 islands in nowhere. So we've been able to shut our borders and keep ourselves relatively COVID-free, in comparison with other countries, even Australia. But we're not immune to the financial repercussions of what's happening in the world. And I understand that for you and for many, many people, this is a terribly difficult time. So I can't see that your viewers are going to take anything from that. It's just what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what I like about, all of our fans is, I designed the show and it's filmed in kind of like a non-professional. I don't want to say it's non-professional, but it's filmed as like you were actually on the expedition yourself.
right.
So it's not, there's no, we don't generally use tripods because, it's too heavy to carry around in the woods.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
it's a true expedition, really is. It's like you're right there rolling along with us. Um, but
And as I was saying before we started, I was watching your episode where you knelt on the snake.
yeah, um, those are like little short solo hikes that I did and stuff. And yeah, that's one of the things I should have been aware of, especially where I was kneeling. But lesson learned.
And fortunately, yeah, nothing happened to you, which,
Yeah, no, I think it was just a little garter snake, which
oh, that was
was
lucky.
was good. But I mean, still, it
Yeah,
could
yeah,
have
snakes
easily
is,
been one of those poisonous ones we were talking about
yeah,
before, or venomous
yeah,
ones.
it could have been, and it could have caused damage to the poor snake as well.
Oh, true, absolutely.
Yeah, so now there was something that I was going to ask you about. Oh, that's right. Before we started this episode, we were talking about the New Jersey Devil.
Oh, yes.
So you're from New Jersey,
Yes. Yep.
and have you've heard of the New Jersey
Oh, of
Devil?
course. Yeah. The Jersey Devil is a very interesting story. It all started, I think it was like 1902, where schools were closed because of the sightings of the Jersey Devil were, so rampant, and it was picking people off the streets, and it flies off into the night and all that good stuff. And while I don't disbelieve and discredit any of those stories, um, the sightings kind of died down after that like craziness, the
Mm,
pandemonium, if you will. And then the sightings still to this day are kind of sporadic here and there. Um, what is an unpopular opinion that I have is that the Jersey Devil is actually a misidentified Bigfoot. And I think that because if you look at, first of all, the Jersey Devil lives in the Pine Barrens. We go down the Pine Barrens all the time. There's
right.
a lot of Bigfoot sightings down there.
Mm,
There's also a lot of Jersey Devil sightings down there. But anyways, the sightings of the Jersey Devil are glowing eyes, or glowing red eyes at like 7, 8 feet tall, and screams in the night. And I don't know. I think that's what a Bigfoot does. So I'm kind of putting the two and two cryptids together, and now we have one that you know two out of the three characteristics. Bigfoot doesn't fly, but
right. Right. I was going to mention that.
like I say, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's probably a duck.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that's very interesting.
And what's
Okay.
interesting about that is, so we did an event down there, and this guy interviewed me from like this newspaper, Burlington County Times, and he interviewed me on that exact subject of why I think the Bigfoot's a Jersey Devil. And let me tell you, the people of South Jersey, the Pineys, we will call them, they like their Jersey Devil. I actually got death threats
Oh,
from,
no.
yeah, yep, yep, yep. So that doesn't change my opinion of what I think, the Jersey Devil actually is, but don't go to South Jersey and say that there's no Jersey Devil.
Wow, that's pretty scary. Didn't the X-Files do an episode on the
Yeah, I
Jersey
believe
Devil? I
so.
think they did.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It just brought that to mind. Funny how your mind works, isn't
Right?
it? Okay, so that's really interesting. But people do have very strong beliefs, and they don't like their beliefs being questioned, which I guess is, well, some don't like their beliefs being questioned. So I guess that's why. But to get death threats, that's pretty. pretty strong.
What can I say?
Yeah. Do you have a website?
We are in the process of making an actual website, yes. However, it's not finished yet. But we're on Facebook, Shadow of Red Eye, or I'm sorry, In the Shadow of Big Red Eye. Instagram is Shadow of Red Eye. YouTube, our channel, Sussex County Bigfoot NJ. And our show is called In the Shadow of Big Red Eye. And I'm the
Brilliant.
producer and director of them.
That's wonderful. So there'll be links to all of these on this episode's page on the Walk in the Shadowlands podcast website, www.walkintheshadowlands.com. So you listeners can all go there and click out the links and check Mike's workout, Mike and his 10's workout. This has been a quite an interesting chat, Mike. I've really enjoyed it. It's a bit different. I wasn't sure what to expect actually when we started, but this is really interesting. And to me, this is a subject that I really like because it's a mystery. I like mysteries. I like mysteries. I like things that make you think and question what's real and what is our perception of reality. And I've had like several episodes on. We've done New Zealand's Moiho Man, which is your version, our version of Bigfoot. I had interviewed a chap on who was a major researcher in Australia on the Yowie, which is the Australian version. And I've wanted for a while to speak to somebody who's researching the American version. But of course, there's versions all over the world. There's so many different names for the Yowie. And I first developed an interest in this when I was a kid and I heard about the abominable snowman.
Yeah.
And Sir Edmund Hillary, who's a bit of a New Zealand hero and an icon, who had an encounter with one. I can't remember exactly how that happened. But anyway, that got me interested in it. So, yeah, it's been a fascination for me ever since. So, Mike, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me on. It was awesome.
With the Bigfoot sounds provided by Mike from one of the expeditions, I did repeat the calls twice at the end of the clip, in case any of you listening were wondering. I understand the human nature to want to solve mysteries, to seek out answers to perplexing questions that have puzzled humankind for eons. After all, this podcast is an offspring of the curiosity, that desire to know more, to understand the unexplained, the unsolved mysteries on this planet. It's part of our human nature to be curious, to want to be able to categorize things or events and place them in neat little boxes. This is a human trait that my star people friends have often commented on. It's a source of amusement to some of them, much as we dote on we kiddies when they're discovering new things. So I fully understand why people like Mike go Bigfooting. I absolutely get that. What bothers me, though, with these companies that were taking huge numbers out into the field is that these creatures are living, sentient beings, and I hate the exploitation of anything like that. It's just a personal bugbear of mine. I've no issue whatsoever with small groups of people going out looking. Heck, I'll join them in a heartbeat, just not groups out to profit from this. That's my rant for the day. I really appreciate Mike's time and the energy he puts into his expeditions and the video channel. I hope you have all enjoyed listening to Mike as much as I have. If you enjoyed this episode, and actually if you enjoy this podcast overall, then please consider becoming a patron of the show. It does cost to produce and host the show and do the social media for it. So my patrons that I currently have who do help the show financially are greatly appreciated. I don't make any profit from this podcast. It's not about making profit, but help with running costs is really awesome and appreciated. So for only $5 a month plus applicable taxes wherever you live, you can become a patron. Go to patreon.com/MCC15 and sign up now. As a patron, you get access to a special members-only page on the podcast website, www.walkingtheshadowlands.com. You also have access to some interview bits that may not make the episodes and little extras as I have time to create and add them for you. Also, you have my absolute gratitude and appreciation. So, what are you waiting for? Go to patreon.com/MCC15 and sign up now. This episode's bumper music is called Man in the Arena by Christian Leo. I really like that driving beat. If you have any suggestions for topics you might like me to cover in upcoming episodes, then please don't hesitate to contact me. Or if any of you have any questions, suggestions, or any comments that you'd like to make or experiences that you might like to share with myself or my audience, or if you feel you might be a good fit as a guest on my podcast, then just email me at shadowlands@yahoo.com or check out the Be a Guest page on the podcast website. Check out our Facebook page, Walking the Shadowlands, our Instagram feed of the same name, and our Twitter feed at Shadowlands10. Like and follow for hints on our upcoming episodes. If you enjoyed this episode, then please leave a positive rating and don't be shy to leave a written review on your chosen podcasting platform or on the podcast Facebook page, Walking the Shadowlands. And of course, so you don't miss out on any episode, make sure you subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. This podcast is available on all free podcasting platforms and iHeartRadio as well. Also, if you have Alexa, simply say these 4 words: Open Walking the Shadowlands. Alexa will play our latest episode for you. If you don't have a smartphone, then you can listen to the episodes from the podcast website, www.walkingtheshadowlands.com. For those hearing impaired, there's a full written transcript of each episode on the website, so you don't miss out at all. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your workmates about our show. Encourage them to listen and to subscribe also. The more, the merrier. Thank you so much for listening today, tonight, whatever time it is, wherever you're living in this beautiful world of ours. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Thanks for listening.